Go Man Go is home from doing battle, folks. He did an awesome job. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Speedy's Garage YouTube channel. Like I mentioned in the video that we shot at the MSHS, the Modern Street Hemi Shootout in Clay City, Kentucky, I was gonna take some time and go back and review the time slips. I always do that after a race just to start making some middle notes. I make some notes in my data log so I know kind of what was going on. And I'm gonna kind of step you through some of that stuff today because it might help you while you're at the track. So let's get right to it. Okay, so we're obviously back at the shop. Anytime I race and it's been a long hot day like it was the other day, I want to do the time slip analysis back in the comfort of my shop where I can focus on them. Greg and I got to the track about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30. We'd already unloaded the car the night before, so all we had to do was basically do a little prep, check tire pressures. I've already put the race tune in it, already had race gas in it like you saw from last week's video, and I'll link to that to the top. And all I had to do was go pull up to the staging lane. So they were going to do an hour of open time trials from 10 to 11 a.m. I pulled up the app on my phone to check DA because I knew it was warming up. It was foggy when we got there. So kind of curious what the DA would be. I knew it was heating up quite quickly. People were getting random or conflicting DA measurements using various apps on their phones. And I don't know if it was because they were using different weather stations or how it was figuring it out. But the way I went and determined it is I looked up the weather on weatherunderground.com from at the time or as close to the time I could for my time slip, and then I went and put the data in. If you put in, let's see, it was humidity, it was temperature, it's track elevation, and barometric pressure. If you put in that data, I went to Density Air Online, I think is the name of it. No, airdensityonline.com, I think that's the name of the website, and it would calculate what the DA was. At 10:09 in the morning, the DA, according to the way I went and calculated it, was 3669. So pretty bad. Remember, my goal for the car is 10.0 in any kind of weather, and so this would classify as that. It's easier to run fast. You guys know I've run low 980s in it in good DA, like 400. DA I ran 980, so you usually add, Mike from OST always tells me, usually add about 1/10 for every 1,000 feet of DA. So figuring on a DA of 3669, I was thinking I was going to be around a 10.1. Well, pull up to the light, going to make my first test run. I was completely asleep at the tree. I haven't raced Pro Tree in quite a while, and this was 0.500 Pro Tree, I believe. 1.078, so completely snoozing at the tree, wasn't ready for that. 60 foot was 1.504. 8th, 6.51 at 110 miles an hour, which is actually very good. And then I ran a 10.070 at 140.01 miles an hour. So there's the time slip. And considering I was going to run in the 10.0 index class, I was very happy with that right off the trailer in 3669 DA. So now the DA was going up, and I knew it. I could feel it in the air. It was getting hotter. The next pass I made was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and this was going to be my last time trial pass. I was actually in the staging lanes when they closed it, so I gave the car roughly 30 minutes to cool down. And I decided that with the temperature going up, I would try to add just a little bit of power down lower in the RPM range from like 3,000 to say 5,000 RPM. I was going to add just a little bit of power to try to get my 60 foots down so that I could compensate if the temperature went up and I could still run closer to that 10.0. Well, unfortunately, the track didn't like that. I had a 0.226 reaction time, so I was waking back up and getting used to the tree again, but I spun the tires bad and I had to back off to about 1/4 throttle to let it kind of catch up. And then it finally took off. I had a 1.72 60 foot, which is awful, a 6.890 to the 8th at 106.9 miles an hour, and I ran a 10.46 at 134.48 miles an hour. So spun the tires on that, and I was talking to some people, and there had been a track rental on Friday. We were racing on Saturday, and people were just ranting and raving about the track prep on Friday. So I was a little surprised to find that I had spun the tire. The first pass with the lower power tune in the car did great, had a 150 60 foot. Just put a little bit of power, not a ton, down low, and I blew the tires off. I talked to Crew Chief Greg, and he said watching other people pull up to the line and launch, they were having the same problem. So something was a little bit different, I think, about the track prep on the test and tune day versus the race day. But something was definitely different because the conditions were similar. Now we get to our third run. This was a qualifying run for, I believe this was a qualifying run for the 10.0 index class. I had a .362 reaction time, which is, considering it's Pro Tree, it's pretty good for me. I had a 1.59 60 foot, so I wasn't really happy with that. A 6.667 to the 8th at 108 miles an hour, and a 10.264 at 139.1 miles an hour, so a 10.2. So the DA was 4,070, so 4070 was the DA. I don't know if the track was greasy, the car was hot. Let's see, this run was at 1209, so it had cooled down a little bit, but something wasn't, the mile per hour was good, but the 60 foot was off and the ET was off. So I'm not exactly sure what was going on there. And this time I decided to take power back out of the car. Remember, we're still kind of playing with the tune, trying to kind of figure out, you know, kind of what's going on. So I go up, and I didn't take much power out, just a little bitty bit from what I had put back in. 0.261 reaction time, so not terrible. 1.541 60 foot, so not good. I always want my 60 foots to be 1.50 or better if possible, because that tends to be where the car runs consistent good times. I had a 6.636 to the 8th at 105 miles an hour, and I ran a 10.256 at 133.4. The DA was 4201. So again, the car was slowing down. So I ran a 10.264 the pass before, and here's why. So now that I look at the times on the time slips, and this is why I do this analysis. Ran the previous run at 1209. They called us apparently, yeah, I remember this now. They called us right back up. So this was a time trial, I think, for bracket class. I may have said it was a 10.0 index. It's a little fuzzy in my head. It was real hectic in the morning for some reason. And then they called us up to qualify for 10.0. Yeah, that's right, because I've got 10.0 index written on the dial in. So we did a bracket class time trial or qualifying run or whatever it was. They never really announced over the PA exactly why they were calling us up. They said, if you're in the bracket class, get up here, and we made a pass. So I pull back around, park the car, pop the hood, and then literally 12 minutes later, they call me back up to make another hit. So it's gonna slow down a little bit, and it ran about the same, but the same ET at 10.25, previous was 10.26. 60 foot was 1.54 versus a 1.59, so I had a little bit better 60 foot, but mile per hour was way down. Went from 139 to 133, so the car was definitely hot. And I do remember, I reviewed the data logs driving home from the track. I remember on either this run or the next one, the air charge temperature, which is your air going into the engine temperature, was like 162, and that's high for this car. It usually runs quite a bit cooler than that. So then, let's see, that was at 12:21 p.m. So we got to give the car a little bit of a break, and they called me back up to run my second qualifier for 10.0 index. Fun again. Spawn again. A 0.54 reaction time, which I'm not happy with that. I like it to be 0.3 or under. A 1.749, so it spun again because I had put power back in the car, thinking with the previous run being a 10.2, I needed to add some more, but it didn't do any good. 1.74 60 foot's terrible. 6.80 to the 8th at 109.3 miles an hour. So the mile per hour is back up because the car had cooled down. And I had a 10.374 at 139.65 miles an hour. So now I'm frustrated. Can't figure out the track. I take power out, it feels like it goes slow. I put power in, it feels like it spins the tire. So Mike ended up calling me, Mike from OST, just to check in. I told him I was having some trouble. He sent me a couple of tunes to try. And this was the first run in 10.0 index. First pass. Had a 0.258 reaction time, which isn't bad for me. a 1.52 60 foot, which now we're getting back down there, 6.5 to the 8th at 110, so mile per hour is back up. You ready? 10.059 at 139.9 miles an hour. So I was pretty happy with that. So the downside was, this was the first, yes, this was my first competitive run in 10.0 index. And the competitor next to me, who was a very nice lady, she had a, I think it was a purple Hellcat. I talked to the folks over there at her pit, and she had a 265 upper, very similar build to mine. I think they said they had a cam in it. Her reaction time was 0.166. So she got me at the tree. Remember, I had a 0.258. She had a 1.51 60 foot, which is comparable to my 1.52. So we were neck and neck, as you saw. We get down to the 8th. She ran a 6.52. I had a 6.50. Mile per hour, she was 108. I was 110. She ran a 10.132 to my 10.059. However, because she had a 0.166 60 foot, she beat me by 0.019 of a second. So I got knocked out first round of 10.0 index by this nice lady. And I was proud of her. I mean, it was awesome to see folks out racing their cars, especially women. There was a lot of women racing cars, which is a good thing in my opinion. So she did really well. 0.019 is how much she beat me by. So that knocked me out of 10.0 index, but we had figured the car out. It ran a 10.059, it felt good. And what it boiled down to is taking power back out. I ended up taking out about 66% of the power I had put back into it between 3,000 and 5,000, and that's exactly what it took. The DA, 4298. So that's very high. So now all I had left was bracket class, and I had made that run at about 4 o'clock. So a couple hours later, we let the car cool, but the DA is 4260. So I wasn't sure what the car was gonna do. Remember, I had just now gotten it back down to the 10.0s. I didn't know if it would do it twice because it had been so inconsistent all day. I decided to make my dial in for bracket 10.10. Well, I line up next to John Gavinetio, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I see him at tons of events. He always comes to Challenger Fest. He's a pretty interesting guy. He packs everything up in his Hellcat. He lives in New York, packs everything up in the car with his family, his wife, very nice lady, and their son. Tires, pop-up tent, you name it, it's in there, and they drive to the track and race. He's come to Challenger Fest a bunch of times and done that. He was at this event and done that. VMP a couple of years ago, he was there. And he is a big-time bracket racer. And so his dial-in was 11.21, mine was a 10.10. So that means he's gonna leave about 1.1 seconds before I do, if I did the math right on that. So that's a little weird. You have to sit there and his tree flashes and he gets the green light and he goes, and then about a second later mine flashes and I go. And my goal was to catch up to him, because I knew if I caught up to him and got right next to him, then the time would be very close to what I had put on my dial in, because in bracket racing, they're trying to get both cars to be at the end of the track at the exact same time, even though they might be two different power levels. Well, here we go. His reaction time was a 0.214. Mine was a 0.383, so not too bad. His 60 foot was a 1.8. Mine was a 1.50, so the car was working well there. His 8th mile was a 7.43. Mine was a 6.50. His was a bone stock Hellcat. Mine was obviously modified. His 8th mile per hour was 98.4. Mine was 109.82. So I'm coming on him like a freight train. Like, you know, you can see me coming after him. His ET was 11.378. Okay, remember his dial-in was 11.21, so he's pretty close. Mine, 10.069. Ran a 10.0 again, and my dial-in was a 10.10, so it means I broke out by 0.03 of a second. And so I lost, beat myself. So there's the time slip. Take a look at that. But it means we got the car dialed in, and I had figured out, and I had learned a lot, that sometimes you have to take power out to go faster. And I learned you take it out down low to get off the line, and you can feed it in very quickly up top once the car is moving. So that's where we did the racing. We got knocked out, unfortunately, in round one both times, which Hurts a little bit, but I was there to have a good time, and honestly, I got to make, you know, 7 passes, which is more than I normally get to make at my local drag strip on Test and Tune Day. So all in all, not disappointed. And the really good news is, reviewing the data logs, the car is doing exactly what I need it to do. It's shifting where I want it to shift, even when it's super hot. The IATs got way up there, and the car started dialing back the power a little bit, meaning it's protecting the motor like I've tuned it to do. So I'm super happy with that. I appreciate Mike reaching out and giving me a little bit of help, knowing I was struggling with the track conditions. And being at these events, it was really nice to see some folks that I've met online on hellcatforum.org. I've talked to them in threads and get to see them in person. And I'll show you a pretty cool trailer. I'll put a picture up now of Mark W, I think is what he goes by on the forum. So that's what his trailer and setup looks like. It's like a picture of the car in the trailer when the doors are closed, so that was kind of cool. I got to meet Kurt Dusterhoff from Dusterhoff Tuning in person. He was there on site supporting his customers. I got to actually see him meet with one of his customers in his, he brought a kind of a trailer and has an office in there for meeting with customers and talking about their tunes and how their cars are doing and making revisions on the spot. So seeing tuners like Kurt come on site and support their customers right there at the track was very cool. Got to meet him in person, even though I talked to him on the phone and emailed him several times. Super nice guy. He had his big dog Raylan with him, who's a sweetheart. I don't think that dog has ever met someone who wasn't his best friend. So that was really great to see. I hope you enjoyed the content. Hopefully I'll see you at a future event. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedys_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net. And hopefully I will see you out there.